All right, so we are officially live right now. It is 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. So thank you guys for joining us for our second Q&A live panel discussion as we are talking about just construction, the state of the industry, the impact that COVID-19 is happening on it. And for us, essentially Construct Reach, we are a workforce development company that seeks to build reachable opportunities through construction. One of the big things for us is to be able to bring visibility to what the industry has to offer, and also to kind of serve as a facilitator to bring the industry closer to the education professionals, but as well as students and young adults as well. And we know that we found ourselves in some very unprecedented times, and one of the things that was important for us was to make sure that we made sure that we were able to kind of help out educators and students during this time. We know that a lot of students and educators across the board, right? This is kind of the consensus for all of us. We've had to kind of prolong the distance learning because of COVID-19, and so for Construct Reach, we thought it would be very important for us to be able to provide maybe some post-secondary curriculum, if you will, by just talking through the construction industry as it relates to what's going on, but then also being able to have business professionals, top execs, CEOs from within the industry to kind of have these live panel discussions on a weekly basis. And so this is our second week of having it. This is something that we are very, very excited to do. We feel honored to be able to do this, to be able to provide and resource students and our professionals. They feel the same way. When I got a chance to present this to them, it was a just one conversation, and just to have that type of support, to have them taking, some time out of their day to provide just some insights and answer some questions that you may have regarding construction was pretty huge. And so here we are today. So I'll go ahead and just kind of get us started and introduce our panel for today. First off, we've got Tyshawn Allen. Tyshawn is out of Columbus, Indiana, and I want to just let Ty just kind of share his story about how he got into construction and just talk through his current position as well with Taylor Brothers Construction. So what's up, Ty?
Thanks,
How you doing, man?
I'm good. I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks to everybody being on the panel. So my journey started when I was in high school, trying to figure out if I was going to go to college or I was going to work. I had just moved to Indiana from New York, so I always thought I was going to get some money in Indiana, then head back to New York, and then get an education here as well. Met a guy, friend now, mentor, who said, he asked me a question. He said, "How are you going to pay for school?" Well, I work at CVS. So at the time I was working at CVS, I think I was making $650. So the opportunity was, I can provide you with a job that'll get you a little bit more income that will help you pay for your education. So right off the bat, I asked, "How much is that?" He said, $1450. I said, "I'll take it." So as soon as I turned 18, I had joined the union. I mean, like the next day. My birthday is July 5th, so it was like July 6th. I joined the union as a laborer, and I went to work the second day after I was 18, and started there as a laborer. 2 weeks later, as all people know, you don't get paid the first week, but a week after that, I looked at my check and I looked at the wage, and it was $18.25. So I was sold, right?
Yeah.
Hard work. It was different because I didn't know anything about construction. Being from New York, I would see guys on the train, on the bus with their gear on, but I couldn't really picture what they did for a living. They just looked like they worked in the industry, but I never knew what they were doing. So that was my first insight to construction, being on a job site, didn't have any knowledge. Fast forward, I stayed in the laborers union for 5 years. And in between the 5 years, I ended up going to school for technology. Got into the office one day and found out we had a technology department. So then I became an intern in the IT department. So had to make a decision whether I wanted to go back into the field or stay in the office. And I was tired of the cold. and being out there with a screwdriver in one hand or a drill in one hand and trying to build things in the code. So I'm not going to take up too much more time, but stayed in IT for about 5 years and then got introduced to going to conferences and networking and trying to build the business. So I switched over to marketing, and that's where I've been probably the last 7 years. So total of 17 years I've been in the industry.
That's good. That's good. All right. So next we'll introduce Mr. Thomas Kraut. Thomas Kraut is the CEO of the Kraut Group that's out of Texas. Good morning, Thomas. How you doing?
Good morning, Paul. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having us, and thank you for your servant leadership. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, I would ask the same question to you, Thomas. You know, how did you get into the industry? And of course, you know, with being a leader of a company, you know, that's not every day, right? That students are having, you know, direct Q&A conversations with leaders of a company as well. And so, just kind of talk through your journey.
Right. So my journey is not foreign to many other students that's in industry or interested in construction today. I grew up in a large family, an urban area. We had challenges similar to most urban areas. My uncle and a neighbor had a construction business. And when you're growing up on an island, I grew up in the Bahamas, with a very entrepreneurial family, you don't find much time for idle hands because it can get you into trouble. So I worked on the weekends during school breaks as a laborer in their construction business. Sometimes I was sweeping, sometimes I was picking up stuff, sometimes I was doing carpentry. But my parents always ensured that we maintained good grades. And so after going to school for several years on the islands, and I was in a technical and vocational school where construction and drafting was my trade that we learned. At the end of my senior year, I was able to get a scholarship to the University of Nebraska at Kearney. They offered us a full ride scholarship based on academics, studied a program called construction management, went there for 4 years. During the summers, I took the same skill set that I learned growing up in high school and poured concrete during the summers. There were some hot summers and some cold winters, but because I picked up that skill set and just being disciplined enough to show up every day, we always had a little extra money in our pocket during school. Out of school, I was recruited by a large construction company to come back to Texas, work within that company, started as an engineer, went into estimating, then as a superintendent, got into project management. And about 12 years into my career, I had a wonderful opportunity as a young project manager to work with a Fortune 500 company that was doing what they called back then special projects.
Okay. Yeah.
The CEO of that company came in and said, "Hey, we have a great leadership opportunity for you. You know, it's a very demanding client, but we think if you really pay attention and learn, there's a great skill set for you." Many of us know that company today as Target. So we spent 10 years working with them within their special projects division, got promoted, went from special projects to remodels to overseeing the whole Target account. Grew in my career to be a vice president of a firm. And 3 years ago, we had more clients and more people in the market said, "Hey, have you ever thought about starting your own business?" And that's how we launched. But similar to many kids, you know, started in a small town and worked hard, and construction was really good to us. And we're here today.
Yes, yes. Oh, that's an amazing story. Thanks, Thomas. Thank you for joining us today once again. And then next we've got Dan Severson. Dan is out of Cleveland, Ohio. Good morning, Dan. How's it going? Or good afternoon, I guess, for you, right?
Yeah, it is good afternoon, yeah.
We just hit the PM on Eastern Standard Time, so yeah. With that, thank you for joining us. Dan, you know, I would pose the same question, you know, like how did you get into construction? And then just kind of briefly tell us about your journey to where you are today.
So I'm a member of the Carpenters Union. I'm a third generation guy, so my family has been in the Carpenters Union for 3 generations. So I got in 1995. I got out of high school. I did my own little thing there for a little bit. typical stuff you do when you're 18 to 23 years old, no responsibilities. So I did a little traveling and had some fun. Then I had a couple, kind of just normal jobs you would have as a 20-year-old. I did a little bit of small kind of construction, not really paying attention to like my grandfather and what my uncles were doing. Didn't seem like I was very interested in it. And then I got a job doing some conveyor installation for a small distribution company. And once I started doing that, I started asking some questions, and my grandfather was like, it's one of those things where like, they didn't want to just throw me into it. But once I started asking, I was like, this is kind of what I wanted to do. So 1995, I got into the apprenticeship program. I graduated in 1999. So we have a 4-year program. After that, you become a journeyman. So I was just working in the field. Somebody came up to me after a few years in as a journeyman and asked me if I wanted to be a foreman. I took on that role, and that led to being a general foreman, then a superintendent. That was where I was at before I got my job as a representative for the Carpenters Union. So I was with the IKORCC, which is the Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio Regional Council of Carpenters, up until last May, and then I was promoted to international rep. So I cover the Midwest district with one of the district vice presidents. So it's basically that's my story there. In between that, I've had 3 beautiful daughters and a beautiful wife who we're all home. We got a couple in college, and I got one that's in high school. And I'm, with all this going on, you're kind of becoming a teacher here too. So
yeah, right, exactly. No, that's good, Dan. Thank you for sharing. And I was asking each of you guys to share your journey into construction, because the topic for today is called construction basics, right? And when you kind of look at construction basics, we're looking at 3 different aspects within this topic, and essentially one of them is different career pathways. So one of the things that we've found out a lot is that there's just, and I think Tyshawn just kind of said it in his introduction as he was talking about his journey and how he didn't know the different positions. He would see construction workers, he would see them with their gear on or what have you, but he had no idea like the different professions that fall with, under the umbrella of the construction profession. And so, I was having you guys talk through that because as we're talking about different career pathways, one of the things that we want to make known and we try to make visible through Construct Reach is to showcase like the various different career pathways that you can take, right? When you think about an entire industry, anything that you are interested in, there's probably a job for you within the entire construction industry. So you see Tyshawn, he is, marketing and IT now, but he started out in the field. You see Dan Severson, he is an international representative, right? And so that's more so on the business side, maybe the recruiting, maybe the collective effort and making sure that the region is, doing things in a consistent way and, providing leadership for certain local, locales within the region that he oversees. Then you have Thomas, who is overseeing a company. And so, it's being able to hit it from different perspectives so that you guys get a chance to see that there are various different career pathways that you can take within the industry that maybe you might not have known prior to this. And so that's one of the things that we want to accomplish during this time. Now, I know one of the things that is important, and maybe Dan can speak to this a little bit, but when we're talking to a lot of high school students, or we're talking to maybe even college students, right? A lot of times, we talk about internships, we talk about opportunities that way. But, within the construction industry, it's almost like 2 forms of internships per se. You've got an apprenticeship, and then maybe you have a traditional internship. Dan, you want to kind of talk through like the difference, or maybe just focus on like what does an apprenticeship entail and maybe some of the differences between an apprenticeship and an internship?
Sure, no problem. Like, let me a very simple way to look at it. So like somebody, they want to get into construction, it'd be the same thing you're saying as somebody saying they want to go to college. So if you say you're going to go to college, it doesn't mean you're just going to go to college and you're just going to be a professional at everything. So, you pick a career path in college and you got a major. It's almost the same thing in construction. So that's why you have different trades. You have a carpenter. So if you make a commitment to become a carpenter, you're going to do a 4-year apprenticeship in carpentry. If you decide you want to be an electrician, you're going to go through an apprenticeship program for the electricians. If you, so each one of the crafts are kind of separated. I just want to make sure that everybody understands that, you know, that's kind of the way that it's set up, is so that we all have our own skill set. And for us to be a journeyman and a master of our skills, you need the full 4 years worth of schooling to do that. So beyond that, so just say for an apprenticeship for the Carpenters Union, because that's what I know more about than anything else. But so we have a 4-year program where we call it earn as you learn. So typically the way that it's set up is you're going to go to school for 1 week each quarter of the year, and the rest of the time you'll be working for a contractor out there doing on-the-job training. So just say that Paul was an apprentice, he was working for me. He's on a job site. He gets a letter from the school. They say, hey, you're going to report to school April 23rd. He comes back, gives me the letter. He goes to school for that full week. Depending on where you're at and what location, some of them have it set up where you'll collect unemployment while you're in school for that week. Other areas have it set up so you're going to get paid from the contractor while you're going to school that week. When you get done with your school for the week, you get typically every 6 months you're going to get a raise. So just say and this is another way it works too. So every 6 months in your apprenticeship program, you're going to get a raise. Mm-hmm. So you start off, just to say you make $30 an hour. That's what the top rate is as a journeyman. You'll start off 50%, so you're making $15 an hour. When you get to your next 6 months, you're going to go up to 60%. You get to your next 6 months, you're going to probably go up to 65%. So you're continually, as long as you're progressing through the apprenticeship program, you're going to keep on getting raises. And then when you top out, you get a nice big raise.
Okay, so I've got to cut you off, Dan, because you just said something that. So you get a raise every 6 months, just as long as you are progressing through the program. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
I just want to make sure we stopped and we said that once again, just so that you know. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Yes, and it's it's based on as long as, and this is the biggest thing for, especially in the construction. I'm sure that Tom and Ty and everybody else they'll tell you this too. It's not for everyone. It is not. It's hard work. It takes a lot of getting used to. There's a lot of people that it's not a good fit for them. But it pays well because it's hard work. And I mean, it's just like anything else. You hear the old cliche of you get what you put into it, and that's the truth in the construction world for sure. Mm. So, and when it's in the building trades, which I'm considered part of, we're not like the UAW, or we're not like some of these other where you just work strictly for a company. Our union is if you don't produce, you don't work. So we're not going to come in there and be caught sleeping on the job sites. My job as a union rep isn't to come in and save you from getting fired from your job site. Mm-hmm. We're out here trying to promote to everybody that we're the safest, we're the most efficient workers that there are. So that's our promoting, and that's what our membership needs to understand. So.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's very good insight. And that's a good way to put it. Looking at it from the perspective of not just a typical internship, but looking at it from the perspective of going to college. So you go and you specialize in something. But what's the difference is, as opposed to, you paying or having to, take on maybe a lot of debt to pay through your education. I think one of the benefits, if you look at construction, is you actually get paid to learn, in a sense. Is that a safe way to say it? Dan, kind of in a very concise way, like to separate the difference between college and an apprenticeship?
Yeah, so it's it's, as I said, it's earn to learn. Learn as you earn. Yeah. And it's definitely this isn't a job. When you pick this, you're picking this as a career path for yourself. We're offering you a retirement at the end of the tunnel. We have health benefits. When we're putting a lot of investment, it doesn't cost anything to go to our apprenticeship program. So we want to make sure that we have people that want to stay with us. We're putting a big investment in the members and in the training so that we can have productive journeymen and keep this thing going on and on. There's over 500,000 carpenters in the United States. So
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great. So I know from an internship, maybe the traditional internship perspective, right? That's where you have gentlemen such as Tom and Tyshawn who are in the office. So talk through kind of what those opportunities look like, Thomas and Tyshawn, from that traditional kind of internship lens, right? You probably have interns that you guys bring in within your companies, and maybe there's a combination of both, or maybe it's they're all in the office. But just kind of talk through that, because I know I wanted to spend time just looking at the difference between an apprenticeship and an internship. And so having Dan just kind of unpack and expound on the apprenticeship side, maybe talk through the internship side, and what a student gets a chance to experience as a traditional intern with you guys.
So for us, Paul, that's a great question. We've actually taken more of a 360-degree perspective over the last 2 years on how we do our internship. Traditionally, we would have gone to a college campus, probably a campus that was within a 100 or 50-mile radius of our office, and go and start targeting college, either junior or seniors coming out. And they would come in during their downtime and do an internship with us, either for a semester or over summer. We would either run them through several different departments within our company. One would be what we call estimating. So they would work on quantity takeoff, just getting familiar with the documents. The second would be what we call an engineering position. They would work on site as a field engineer with a superintendent, and that would probably just be more or less pushing submittals, doing takeoffs, reviewing documents, RFIs. And then the third would be coming in and maybe working in a costing position. Over the last 3 years, we said, okay, rather than just looking primarily on college students, is there a way that we can go further down in the workforce pipeline and start bringing in high school students? So high school students that are interested in the construction sector. So we formed a relationship with a local public school, the Dallas Independent School District, and we became what we call a P-Tech partner, which is a career pathway for students that are interested in the trades, that come from entrepreneurial backgrounds. So now students who traditionally may not have gone to college, they come in at their freshman year in high school, and by the time that they graduate, they're actually graduating with a high school diploma, and they're also attending a local Dallas County Community College. So they graduate with a high school diploma, and they also graduate with a junior college degree. And so we're able to go into that school and identify students and show them the different pathways in construction, whether it's engineering, whether it's estimating, whether it's into information technology. Are you interested in construction from an accounting perspective? Are you interested in construction from an office management perspective or project management perspective? We're able to recruit students early on, and when they graduate at 18 years old, 17 years old, they're immediately able to come into our business and have impact. And so we're now looking at an internship from that perspective, where we can actually go further down in the workforce development pipeline into our communities and start attracting younger students that are speaking to another generation of leaders that are interested in construction.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, great insight, Thomas. Oh, I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
Okay.
Okay. No, that's good. That's good. And that just kind of shows, right, the difference between the two, but it also introduces like just more opportunities and more options. One of the things that I like to tell young people, and this is kind of why we are, positioning it like this and talking through the various options that you have, is because when you're young, having an internship, like it's an easy way. It's an easier way. I'll put it like that. It's an easier way for you to discover maybe what you want to do, but even more importantly, what you don't want to do, while it's still at a low risk to you. right? And so, when you're coming upon these internships and you may be still in school or you may be still young, there's the expectations on both ends, right, are set, and it's in a way that's at a low risk to you. So you can get a chance to discover, what you have an interest in, or you may get a chance to learn as Thomas was kind of talking through, being able to have a 360 kind of view of things. You may have an idea of what you may be interested in once you come into an internship, but you get exposed to so much more. And then you learn, okay, well, maybe not, maybe I want to look at this facet, but it's still up under the umbrella of the construction industry that you may not have known if you did not pursue the internship. And so it's being able to take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of you now, but the only way that you can take advantage of opportunities that are in front of you is to understand and be exposed to what those opportunities are, right? And so this is kind of where, we're bringing the visibility, we're bringing the industry closer and into the context of who, where you are, so that you understand what your options are. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully, that insight is helpful for you guys. And just to kind of, mention, like, we have set up a social network within Construct Reach where that's our primary goal, right? Is to bring the industry closer to a younger demographic, so that you understand what your options are and where those options exist. With Dan, overseeing an entire region, if you were to say, hey, I'm interested in pursuing an apprenticeship, but I don't know where to start, you can connect with a professional that it could be Dan or it could be someone in a similar position that, Construct Reach tries to facilitate. And within that conversation or within that, outreach or networking, you can discover like next steps that you can take in your city, right? And so it's being able to understand the options that are in front of you that are available to you so that you can take advantage of them. So no, thanks guys. Thanks for expounding on that. So as we look at, one of the common questions that, will keep coming up as we go through this series, although we're looking at various topics, is we want to understand like how the construction industry is responding and navigating through this pandemic that we found ourselves in, right? Especially for young people that are out there that may be tuning in. When we hear things from media outlets, a lot of times it speaks about the economy at large, but we're not talking about like various sectors that fall up under the umbrella of the economy. And so, as you have these young adults or these budding young adults who are transitioning into young adulthood and, are thinking about pursuing careers or maybe interested in construction, I think this is a time and this is a platform that we like to use to not just lump, everything under the umbrella of the economy, but to talk about the sector of construction specifically to understand what is the health of the industry and how it's navigating through, this pandemic that we found ourselves in, which my hope would be to give you a little bit more clarity and insight as a young person to let you know kind of what options are still available or what options are becoming available, so that you can begin to still move forward and make some next steps, and so that your life is not necessarily on hold. So I know, Dan, you guys and Tyshawn, you can kind of speak to this too. Just all of you guys can, as I ask the question, you guys can just kind of jump in as you see fit. But how is the industry kind of navigating through this COVID-19 pandemic that we found ourselves in? Are there new business practices that are taking place? Talk through whether or not construction is still happening, right? I'll let you guys speak to that, so that's kind of the question that I want to just throw out there, and you guys can just do that, openly.
I'll just be brief. Yes, it's still happening. If you look at the tiles, we're all in our offices. So, and everybody is in different locations. There are still people out in the field. I think we always had a very high expectation for safety in the construction industry, and we've been following that for years. We pride ourselves in that. So our consciousness has just been raised, and we've just become more aware of some of the health issues that are going on. So everybody's banding together. I think it's a team effort. The whole industry is realizing that they have to stick together and over communicate. We're meeting virtually more if you're in the office. I think guys are just being, and women are being more conscious of when they're on the job sites and performing work, that we're all in the same situation now, and we just got to pay attention a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, you know, it's been a collaborative effort from everybody, contractors, owners, business rep members. You know, number one, first of all, you know, I hope that everybody out there is families healthy and safe and doing everything they can to, you know, keep themselves and their family protected. So, member safety is number one overall, always has been. It's our message all the time. It's, you know, no contractor wants to see anybody get affected, get ill, get hurt on a job site. So, as soon as we've put some programs already together, COVID-19 preparedness that our members are taking right now. And it's, you know, it's a great course. Basically, it goes over all the social distancing. I would say our biggest struggle is probably right now is getting PPE. That's the, you know, everybody's fighting amongst each other to try to get masks and everything to keep the members protected. And at the same time, you have everybody meeting up in the front lines, fighting this thing in the hospitals. So that's probably the biggest struggle right now. As far as work going, we're probably going about 85% in most of our different districts, our different councils, except for Michigan. Michigan was considered, construction work was considered non-essential, so they shut down all of their jobs. We're trying to work with the governor to make sure that they understand that we can still get out there and do this work safely. Our mentality is right now has got to be that, you know, if things say they don't change and this is the way things are going forward, let's just prepare ourselves and do everything we can to make sure that the members, the people that the facilities that we're working in, we keep the workers there safe and we keep our membership safe. That's got to be the focus on it. And if things do change and they get better, I'd rather be over-prepared than under-prepared. You can see how that kind of worked out for our country, just, you know, as quickly as this happened. So we're, you know, that's what we're doing.
I agree with Tayshawn and Dan. So what we're seeing in the Texas region is everyone's adjusting to what we call the new normal. And for us in Texas, especially in Dallas, we're now under a stay-at-home ordinance. So unless you're considered to be an essential business, which fortunately for us, construction is considered essential, you have to work remotely. So like so many other companies, a lot of our internal functions are now being done from home, in which we prefer. Whatever we have to do to keep, to stay home, to keep our healthcare workers and the people that are on the front lines, you know, safe, it's good. We're seeing three things that's really happening. What we would call the essential business. It's business as usual, with a lot of the COVID-19 precautions. So 6 foot social distancing, shift work. We're seeing more amenities such as washing your hands, you know, toilet amenities to make sure everyone practices social distancing. Construction trailers on site now are doing more appointment-only meetings. But a few weeks back, we saw on one of our healthcare projects, we were peaking at about 500 men per day. It dropped to 200. Now we're seeing an increase back up to about 300 to 400 on a healthcare project. On our transportation side, it's slower work, making sure everyone's more caution and safety, distance orientated, but production is still there. On some of our private side, we're seeing a lot of those clients saying, hey, we want to table the workflow that we have now, and then we'll reevaluate that fourth quarter, end of next year, which is expected. A lot of our clients are really on the front line of dealing with providing essential ingredients for what people need to do just to be safe. My wife and I were talking the other day, who would think that, you know, toilet paper would become an essential ingredient? But a few weeks back, I was in the line too, trying to grab one. So it's really a new normal. But what's really been amazing is no matter how I look across the industry or what I see in every facet in our business, it just shows you the genius of people in construction and how smart they are. The way that our industry has adapted to COVID-19. And I'm so proud. I was on some calls with other leaders in the industry, and a lot of the things that we're implementing, because our industry is so safety conscientious, was already in place. PPE. Some of those things are now a new term, but in construction, most of our jobs wear hard hats. We wear safety glasses, right? Masks aren't foreign. It's just a matter of getting those things now, and gloves. So those are some of the things that we saw that was really good and that we're seeing on the forefront in our region right now.
Good, guys. Very good. Very good. Thank you. So we'll transition to opening it up to maybe a few questions that are out there that the audience has. We'll try to take some right now. If we've got any that are out there, let's see. We'll give them a few seconds. All right, this has been good.
All right, we have a question. Why did you fall in love with construction?
Oh, that's a very good question. So why did you fall in love with construction?
Dan, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Todd.
So let me just be transparent. I wasn't in love with it at first because of what Dan said, right? Hard work. And I wasn't accustomed, not to hard work, but I guess it's a different type of hard work. It's hard manual labor. And being a laborer is exactly what it says. I mean, you're expected to do the grunt work. So I had to get used to that. So probably year 2, when I would look back at what was built and what I was a part of, and I could drive through the city and say I was a part of putting that building in place, and I actually finished some of that concrete, I could call something mine.
Yeah.
That's when I started to feel in love with the building aspect of construction. And then I started to admire everybody in the industry. And not only did I start to admire my peers, it was like, this is a life skill. I'm gonna use this forever.
Yep.
And if you ask my wife today, she's got me hanging pictures, and she thinks I can do everything because I work for a construction company. But I can't do some of it. So to piggyback on that, if you get into this industry, the more attention you pay, the better off your life will become. And I promise you, you're going to use these skills forever.
Very good. Very good.
I'll say that, it changed at different points in my career. When I first got in, I enjoyed the sense of, at the end of the day, you can go back and look at what you built. And there was always this, if you get in like these shutdown situations or like a hurry up job and you're working a bunch of overtime, and you see how quickly you could build something, and you just had this great sense of accomplishment. But then as you move on throughout your career, there's different things that makes you love it. You know what I mean? So like being able to collaborate and get your team together, whether you're a foreman and you're getting all these guys and you just kind of take on their leadership role, getting those guys to buy into what you're trying to, an accomplishment.
Yeah.
That's really fulfilling. And then, as my job progressed from there, kind of as a superintendent is kind of the same thing. You're kind of just trying to get everybody on the same page, and in all reality, you're just a really good planner, and you're good at kind of moving puzzle pieces around so that you can, get the main goal done. As I moved into being a representative, I'll be honest with you, my favorite part about it is being able to help out people, anybody that's out there. When you can offer somebody a better way of making a living in the construction industry, there's nothing more fulfilling. You take somebody that's in where they're getting advantage taken of them, whether it's being 1099 or they're getting paid cash and they've got no type of health care or anything else like that going on, and they're just struggling to feed their family. And you can offer them opportunity where they actually have health care and a pension, and they can make a livable wage. You put them in that situation, and then in a couple of years, or even 6 months from then, when you go back out and you see them at a meeting or something, the feeling of you just feel good about it because you were able to take that person and give them it's just offering them an opportunity. You didn't do anything for them except for just giving them a gateway to try to make their lives better. And that's
good.
By far the most fulfilling part of being a representative, for sure.
All right, let's see. We got another question coming in?
Yeah, we have two more coming in. So this question is from NSHS Construction Education. What certifications would you like to see students come out of high school with?
So what certifications would you guys like to see students come out of high school with? That's a good question.
That is a great question. So one thing that I think is really important, OSHA has a OSHA 10 and an OSHA 30 certification. I think every student that's interested in getting into construction should take an OSHA 10 course at a minimum. We think that's the best way you to kind of get a just and to really understand what we call the heartbeat of construction, which is safety. It's the one thing that keeps us all up at night. No client wants a safety incident in their operations. Personally, no owner wants to hear that someone's not able to go home safe. So for me, that's the number one certification that I would like to see anyone looking to get into the industry come up with.
Good.
We have another question.
Okay.
That from Ms. Alexander, it says, what are some of the challenges that you are facing during this time of COVID-19 and how are you overcoming?
Good question. So what are some of the challenges that you guys are facing and how are you overcoming those challenges as we find ourselves in COVID-19?
So I'll start with this one. So I think for us, it's really adjusting to the new normal. I mean, our industry is really collaborative. We like people. We like to problem solve. We like to talk. COVID-19 and social distancing is really kind of a foreign word for construction-oriented people. So we're all short-circuited a bit, right? I think the second thing is that everybody in some way, shape, or form is seeing some disruption in their business. Either your business is picking up or your business is slowing down. And so there's a lot of concern about people's livelihood. That's a really important question that's out there. And then I think the next thing that a lot of my peers are looking at is how is this going to look on the other side? How is this going to change the way we educate our students? How is this going to change the way we conduct business? How is this going to change, for example, the footprint of how our clients deliver? So looking at that is just things that we're seeing from COVID-19. And more importantly, is everyone going to be okay?
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, I'd like to just expound on that. I think, one of the hard things is that, just because we're trying to get our membership to understand that how important it is to do these social distancing and everything else is, at the end of the day, a lot of these guys they're construction workers. And they kind of have this mentality of like, the same as when they hurt their arm at work. They kind of, hey, let me rub that thing out a little bit and get back to work, or put a piece of duct tape on my cut. And trying to get everybody to understand that the new norm is that, be your brother's keeper. You know what I mean? If you don't feel good, you need to stay home. Showing up to work to show that you're some kind of a tough guy and you can work through this isn't doing anybody any favors right now, because everybody knows it's just a matter of you giving it to the wrong person. You may not show any symptoms, but you give it to your grandmother or your immunocompromised daughter or son that you have is you don't want to have that kind of conscience on you.
Yeah.
It's so that I think that getting everybody to understand how important it is to follow these guidelines is it's a little more challenging than what we'd like to think it is.
Yeah.
I'll just add this real quick to piggyback off what Dan said. It is a pretty tough industry. It always has been. That's the mentality. So a strong challenge is, I think, practicing compassion, for other people and understanding that something has to change. We got to work a little different now.
Yeah, that's good.
To wrap us up, where can students both in their post-secondary opportunities, right? As they transition from high school into college or industry. Where can we find all these great opportunities that you guys are speaking of? Where should we go? How do you start into an apprenticeship program? Where can we go, or when should we start into looking into internship opportunities? So as we wrap up today, can you guys speak to that?
Very good question. Very good question. Did you guys hear that question? Okay. So you wanna speak through things from the union side, Dan, about kind of what, because it may, I don't know, and you guys can let me know, it may look a little bit different, but you want to talk specifically about kind of your union, about what could a high school student do as a next step?
So there's multiple ways you can get into the Carpenters Union.
Okay.
We are not one of the organizations that has like a 2-week testing window where we only allow like applications in, then we have to take a test, and that's how we bring members in. We're always open for enrollment. So we're always trying to capture, talented people and offer opportunities. So one of the newest things that we have is called Career Connections. So Career Connections is affiliated with the high schools. So we have high schools that are using our curriculum to teach the carpenter program, and it could be, the carpenter's umbrella is huge. I mean, if somebody, I don't know how much time I've got here, but let me know, Paul, if I'm going too long. But the carpenter's work here is, when you look at a building going up, is about 80% of the man hours that are going to go into that building are going to fall under the carpenters, because we do all the foundation work, we do with the pile drivers, we do all the concrete form work. Once the exoskeleton's up, we basically do all the siding, or if it's panels that are on it. And then once you get inside of the building, pretty much everything you walk on or touch is installed by the carpenters. So all the walls, all the drywall, all the ceiling, all the doors, all the cabinets, all the flooring. We even hang all the drapes and put the office furniture in. So there's a lot of different skill sets that go inside to being a carpenter.
Gotcha.
And so I just kind of lost my train of thought there for a minute. So with the Career Connections, as you're going through high school, if your program is involved with Career Connections, you get direct entry into the apprenticeship program. Depending on the level of commitment your high school is doing in their trade programs, you can get up to a year's credit into the apprenticeship program. So instead of doing a 4-year apprenticeship program, you'll do a 3-year apprenticeship program. This and it's free, so there's no cost. There's not a cost to go to the apprenticeship program. It's all paid for by the membership. So we have the Career Connections. We have so you can get a letter of intent, which is basically a contractor looking to sponsor you, and stating that he's going to commit to putting you to work for a little while you go through your apprenticeship program. All this information can be found on carpenters.org. Or you can look up any one of your local regional councils. Like if you're in St. Louis area, you can go to the St. Louis, Kansas City Regional Council of Carpenters Facebook page, or you can go on their website and they have all the information right on there as far as.
Repeat that website one more time, Dan.
It's carpenters.org.
Okay. Yeah. Carpenters.org.
Yeah, and if you go on there, there'll be. You can find out every single state's got a link to it to the local regional council.
Gotcha.
And then it's a matter of getting the program. So,
cool.
And if, of course, just like anything else, if anybody ever needed to ask any more follow-up questions, Paul, you have my contact information there. They can reach out to me directly. I have no problem with that.
Yep. Great. And then that's also just kind of a segue into like who Construct Reach is and what we try to do. For us, we try to be that facilitator, right? To connect all of these dots so that you guys can maybe go to one place and discover what the opportunities are. So whether it's being able to connect with other industry professionals or whether it's learning about what opportunities exist out there, if you go to constructreach.com, you'll see something that's on our websites that says join the social network. We have our own app where you can just join the social network, where you get a chance to discover the opportunities that are out there that exist. You can download it straight from the App Store, whether you are an Apple user or an Android user. And so we would encourage you to join the Construct Reach social network. There you can discover different opportunities that exist and be able to connect as well with other industry professionals. All right. Let's see. Do we have anything else?
And lastly, maybe Thomas or Ty can talk about one of the comments were, let's not forget about those university programs.
Yes.
That are like career readiness that have trade training as well. So if there's any like colleges or programs that you guys know specifically that can help students get ready to maybe do the other side of construction, which is more of the business, the superintendent, overseeing project management, and so forth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as a college student and a graduate, the college programs are near and dear to my heart. So I was a part of an organization called the Construction Management Association. So I implore anyone that's interested in getting into construction to be a part of whatever construction management association that your university has, whether it's architectural engineering. The benefit for me is that every year we had to compete in a competition where we did an estimate, and we traveled to different parts of the country as a team. And there was other large construction companies at these events that recruited talent from college that was interested in getting into the pathway. So I think your college guidance counselor or the program that you're in, whatever social or voluntary organization that they have, I would definitely start there.
Yeah.
That's always a great way because there's always recruiting opportunities. There's other people that's in your same pathway that's looking to get into the industry too.
Sounds good. Sounds good, guys. Well, that is our time for today. Hopefully you guys got a chance to get some insight that was helpful for you all. Hopefully it was time invested, right? And that you were just able to gain just some meaningful information regarding the construction industry and how they're navigating through this COVID-19 pandemic and just opportunities that are out there in the nature of the business. So want to say thank you guys for joining us today. Wishing you guys well in your respective places, and just tune in next week as well, as we'll be back here at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time on Wednesday. We'll be going live on Instagram and Facebook once again, and the topic is going to be the future of construction. So it should be a very interesting topic discussion. We'll have some new panelists on, but join us again. All right, take care, guys. See you guys.